All right, time now to get you a look at the world of business. France 24's Yuka Royer joins us here in the studio. Good to have you with us again, Yuka.
Hi, Rachel.
We've been talking about it. It's the top story today, this third national lockdown here in France. It's likely to take its toll, it has to be said, when it comes to retail.
That's right. Well, once again, businesses deemed non-essential have to close their shutters once again across the country. And holiday destinations are seeing mass cancellations because school holiday weeks have been moved up. A ban on selling takeaway alcohol is also hurting restaurants and cafes. And after a year of the pandemic, frankly, many shopkeepers say that they've had enough and some are even breaking the rules. Camille Nedelec has more.
These busy crowds are determined to squeeze in one last trip to the shops before fresh restrictions come into force. This jewellery shop in Toulouse will close for a month on Saturday.
Oui, évidemment, elle aimait. Ça commence à être très compliqué moralement. Pour tout le monde, je suppose. Mais là, de se reprendre encore le fait que nous sommes un commerce non essentiel, c'est violent. Certes nécessaire, mais c'est violent.
Closed businesses have recourse to the government Solidarity Fund, which includes either a grant of €10,000 or 20% of their annual revenue. These extra closures will cost the public purse a further €4 billion per month, bringing the total cost of coronavirus support measures in France to some €11 billion a month. As well as state support, some businesses have turned to click and collect. In Paris, this leather goods business is pivoting to online sales.
J'ai constaté que beaucoup de gens dans tous les départements regardaient justement mon site internet et j'ai bon espoir que ça se transforme en achat.
But sales are still slow for now. Meanwhile, some shops have decided they just can't afford to close. On this street, some boutiques let clients try on clothes outside or make orders from the threshold. They're taking a big risk, as if found out, they'll be forced to shut without recourse to government funds.
Well, France's economy minister insists that the cost of the lockdown is far smaller than what he calls a tsunami of layoffs that could result from businesses going bankrupt. Bruno Le Maire also took a swipe at fellow EU countries for the slow progress in implementing the bloc-wide stimulus package. The €750 billion coronavirus recovery fund was agreed last summer, but only 16 of the 27 member states have ratified it so far. Among the 16 is EU's biggest economy, Germany. Last week, the country's highest court halted ratification as it considered an appeal against the plan based on shared debt.
They need to speed up the process. Opportunity won't knock twice. We need growth now. We need stimulus now. In 2022, 2023, it'll be too late. China and the US will have already left us behind. Europe needs to take the reins of history and move fast. This rescue money promised to European citizens needs to arrive right away. We need it.
Well, it's not just the fresh lockdown that people are unhappy about. Thousands of French farmers took their tractors out on the roads this Friday to protest at planned reforms to the European Union's common agricultural policy. It accounts for about a third of the EU budget, with more than €50 billion in farming subsidies. But a proposal to prioritise environmentally friendly initiative is proving controversial. Catherine Bennett reports.
Operation Snail. That's what the French call this kind of demonstration, where protesters block roads and snarl up traffic. That's exactly what thousands of farmers did early on Friday morning in France. They're protesting against proposed European agricultural reforms that could force them to implement more eco-friendly farming practices, which they think will put them at a disadvantage against cheaper imported produce.
Moins on produira en France, plus on importera de produits. Mais les produits qui entrent d'Espagne, du Portugal, de partout, ne respectent pas le quart de la moitié des exigences qu'on a nous. Donc en fait, c'est surréaliste. Donc on veut faire progresser l'agriculture française, très bien, mais il faut aussi finalement conserver une agriculture pour toutes les bourses.
European Union member states are currently negotiating the next Common Agricultural Policy, or CAP, which will start in 2023. The EU is keen to meet ambitious climate objectives, and so part of farmers' subsidies will now become eco-schemes, additional funding that can only be unlocked if farmers switch to more environmentally friendly practices, such as organic farming, crop rotation, and not using pesticides. France is the largest agricultural producer in the European Union and the biggest beneficiary of EU subsidies. Many French farmers are dependent on EU aid.
La future réforme qui est mise en place projette de me retirer presque un tiers de mes aides européennes, donc c'est-à-dire environ 20 000 euros de moins comme soutien pour le développement de mon exploitation, et ça représente une majeure partie de mon revenu.
Farmers worry that even if they do switch to greener practices, the money they make won't be sufficient to cover costs, penalising them twice over.
Turning to the United States, where the economy created the most jobs in 7 months in March, a sign that the government's vaccination drive and massive stimulus package are pushing the economy on track for a steady recovery after a pandemic recession. 916,000 new jobs were added to the US labour market in March, almost double the gain in February. But there are still nearly 8.5 million fewer payroll jobs in the country than there were before the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. The jobless rate dropped, meanwhile, from 6.2% to 6%. President Joe Biden called the new figures a sign of hope, but warned that the economy could slow down again if there's a resurgence in infections. China has been stepping up a propaganda drive to justify its treatment of Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang province, as it remains in a standoff with Western powers over human rights. State-run TV aired the final episode of a documentary series on Xinjiang, highlighting what it said was a fight against terrorism there, while also showing how happy cotton farmers are about their working conditions. This comes, of course, as an increasing number of Western fashion brands such as H&M, Zara and Nike have faced boycotts after expressing concern over potential forced labour involved in cotton production in the province. Chinese regulators also said that H&M had agreed to change its online map. They didn't give details, but some Western firms have been under pressure over how Taiwan is depicted on the maps that they use. And finally from me, the company behind K-pop sensation BTS is buying a US company run by the music manager of Justin Bieber and Ariana Grande. Big Hit Entertainment, which has changed its name to HYBE, is planning to make the purchase of Ithaca Holdings through its US subsidiary for about $1 billion. It would mark the South Korean company's first foray into the American entertainment industry. Ithaca's chief executive, music magnate Suter Braun, says that tie-up will create exponential opportunities for its artists. A big tie-up there in the music industry there.
Absolutely, and as you say, set to create a lot of opportunities. Yuka, thank you for our roundup of the business news.